Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the International Polka Association's Interview Series. Today, I have the privilege of interviewing Adam Barthalt, the Hall of Fame class of 2006 in the Pioneer category. Hello, Adam. How are you and your family doing during this unique time in our lives? I hope and pray everybody is healthy.
So far, everything's not too bad, thank God.
Yeah,
that's all we can do is hope for our health.
Yep, sounds good. Sounds good. So let's get right into our questions here. When did you begin playing polka music? How did it all begin for you?
Well, okay. When did I start to play polka music? I started learning the accordion at 7. Mm-hmm. I started playing. Would you believe, Dennis? I started playing professionally when I was 12. I played with an adult band.
Wow.
It was unbelievable. And when I was 16, I started my own band. And my parents, well, my father was born in Baltimore, Maryland, but that was the era when his parents came from Europe and spent a couple of years here, 3-4 years here, so he was born here, and then they went back, and he only came back before he was 21. So he was really like European, and also my mother. So therefore, I was brought up, when I first went to school, I didn't know how to speak English. Would you believe that?
Wow.
You had to have a special instructor to teach me how to speak English.
So what was your first language?
German.
German, okay.
The first language was German, yeah. So I knew a lot of that music because my father went to a lot of those the meetings, and his friends were also from Europe, so he spent a lot of time with them, and I was brought up in that tradition, more or less, which worked out very, very well for me later on in life too. So your question really was, when did I start with polka music?
Yes.
Well, when I was 12 years old, I heard a recording that just floored me. It just floored me, Dennis.
Mm-hmm.
It was would you believe, the gentleman that played the accordion was a guy named Frankie Yankovic.
Yes.
And he influenced a lot of people to go into polka music. So when I heard that music, I just was totally engrossed with it.
Who was somebody that inspired you? And you said Frankie Yankovic. So that's awesome. Now, when I first asked the question, you said, well, when did you start playing polka music? Did you play something else before that? Another type of music?
We played American music. We played. I played a lot of weddings when I was 12 years old, and I played with the adult band. Mm-hmm. They played weddings, and so we could play weddings. The people were of Italian ancestry, German, Irish, who knows, young kids. So we played all kinds of music. And that was up in the Catskills, by the way. Okay. And in fact, that gentleman that headed the band, he played a lot of country style music, even the square dance stuff. Mm-hmm. So I was engrossed with a lot of different kinds of music.
Well, that's good because he was very well rounded then. Yeah, but so polka music seemed to be kind of your love then, it sounds like.
Yes, it became my love.
Yeah.
I got married up when I met my wife. It was going to a place that I went to college up in Albany, past Albany, and I played in New York City in one of the suburbs over there in Queens, actually, on a weekend. And that's where I met my wife. And those people had just come over after the Second World War. They were Slovenian. They came from Yugoslavia, which turned out to be Slovenia as it is now, right? Years ago in Slovenia. My wife's mother was 300 years going back to Austrian, and her father was Slovenian. Mm-hmm. So I got involved with that kind of music also, which I really started to love. It was just my style. I loved it.
Yeah.
And so when I was around 20, I got 21, I started getting into the polka field. But meanwhile, I was playing a lot of weddings at that time, too. Mm-hmm. And there were all kinds of different nationalities. So
Was anybody else in your family, your sons or daughters or your wife, or would any of them play polka music or any kind of musical background?
No, they didn't play polka music, but years into my profession, I got involved with calls from different companies. One was a cruise company, and they started Oktoberfest, and also different organizations started Oktoberfest, and they knew that I was into that music, and so they put me in charge of hiring bands and performing. And so I got my kids involved too. My kids, one played the accordion, another played the drums, and they were good. They were really excellent. And my two girls were dancers.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, it worked out really well.
Yeah. Well, that's a nice blend because not only can you go and pursue your playing career, you can be part of the family as well. So it wasn't like you're leaving your family to go perform. They were there with you.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
We were very fortunate. God was good to us. I had the ability to bring my kids along with me, even when they were small and not even performing at that time. And I got them on cruises. They did actually, I think, 12 or 14 cruises with me. I did a total of 63. Dennis, I did a total of 63 performances, main shows on cruises.
Wow, very nice.
And I booked 144 bands for those cruises.
Wow.
So I did a lot of that stuff and played a lot of different cruise lines. I started with the Princess Cruise Lines, and we just went from there.
Yeah. Now, during your performances, was it a variety of music, or did you primarily stick with polkas, or a little bit of everything? You mentioned country and others are genres of music. So did you, like on the cruises, play a good mixture of types of music?
Well, when I was hired to put on the Oktoberfest, they were primarily waltzes and polkas.
Okay.
Of course, we leaned towards the German style at that time. But my love for Slovenian stuff was also always there. So, and it worked out so great for the accordion, especially the Frankie Yankovic style.
Sure.
So, and it worked out great for me. And as a result of that, I was able to perform also. I got calls to do Europe. So we performed in Holland, Belgium, France, Germany, Switzerland, Austria, Czechoslovakia, Croatia, Slovenia.
Wow.
We did 27 tours to Europe.
Wow, very nice.
27 tours to Europe, yeah.
So between your cruises and your European travels, you're really on the go.
We did a lot of stuff, Dennis. Yeah, I was very fortunate. Like my wife said, God was good to us. We had the ability to do what we really loved and get paid nicely for it. So it worked out great. But you know what? In the beginning, it was mostly all weddings. So I had a good feel of all kinds of music. And that worked out really well for me when I did live shows, like Oktoberfest or dances or weddings, whatever the case might be. And I got to know myself insofar as ability is concerned, like that it was advantageous to have other people who had other abilities to do something that I couldn't do as well, like maybe a little rock, a little country style, you know what I mean? Yeah. So I used all of that. And I did, of course, the waltz, the polkas, and the general fields. But when it came to generalized stuff, like little rock stuff, I wanted it to sound authentic. So I hired guys that were able to do that and sound authentic. And it worked out really, really great for me.
Yeah, sounds like it, yeah. Yeah, it's always good to have a variety. I mean, as much as I love the polka music and stuff, it's still nice to have, maybe a ballroom number, like you said, a country or something else, even a rock and roll. It kind of mixes it up a little bit. It keeps everybody involved then as well, Did you write any songs or any of your music, or was a lot of it just from other
it was a lot of different artists, but I also did write songs. And, I wrote when I was celebrating my 50th anniversary as a musician, my fan club, I was running polka weekends at that time. And in fact, I put together 75 polka weekends at different hotels.
Wow.
I hired the bands, put together the itinerary, the meal section, the cocktail parties. I even had a priest come there and do the mass for us. And it was a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The people would come Friday, leave on Sunday. And so it worked out well in that respect, too.
You know, you said you've done a lot of trips, you've done promotions, you've done cruises and all this, and you were talking about your 50th anniversary and writing songs. What do you think is your best, what is your most prestigious achievement, do you think?
My most prestigious achievement?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good question. I've been fortunate to get recognized by quite a few different organizations and countries. Let me, can I read off a couple and then you tell me what you think?
Sure.
And I'll give you my opinion too, all right?
Sure, absolutely.
I did get a proclamation from our congressional committees here in the United States. I got a proclamation from the government of Slovenia. I got the Medal of Honor from the government of Austria, who gives it to one person a year in one country, if they give it. I also was inducted into the Slovenian Polka Hall of Fame, and I was also inducted into, as you know, the IPA, the International Polka Hall of Fame. Now, talking about the two Polka Halls of Fame, of course, the Slovenian, the Cleveland Sound Polka Hall of Fame specializes in inducting those people that play that style of music, whereas the International Polka Association actually inducts people all styles of polka music.
Correct.
So I think that has its advantage. And, you know, I think that supersedes the other one. As I would hate the other polka Hall of Fame.
What's great is you have so many honors with medals of honor and all that, which is awesome. I mean, that's, you know, those all in itself, it's not just one achievement, it's many achievements. That's something to be very, very proud of.
I am very happy.
Yeah.
Like my wife said, be happy. God was good to us. So that's all I can say, really.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the bands you performed with. Were you always your band, or were you part of somebody else's band? How did that?
No, the only band that I really was ever part of was when I was 12 years old.
Okay.
And when I was 16, I started my own group.
Okay.
And I was always just with my own group.
Okay.
And I put other groups together when we had different occasions. So I hired other bands to perform along with us, like in different Oktoberfests and cruises and stuff like that, you know. But it was always my band that I performed with.
Were you always under your name, or did you have like different names for the band, or based on
Well, that's a good question, Dennis, because as you know, I mentioned Frankie Yankovic. Now, originally, Frankie Yankovic advertised himself as Frankie Yankovic and the Yanks.
Yep.
Right? You remember that?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So when I was starting in, I said, now what am I going to name my band? My name is Adam Barthalt, and I'm a junior. Okay. How about Adam Barthalt and the Jolly Juniors?
There you go.
See? So that's what it's always Adam Barthalt and the Jolly Juniors. Most of the time they forgot about the Jolly Juniors. And they just put down Adam Barthalt.
Yeah.
But it worked out well.
Yeah, sounds like it. So, you know, you talked. Now, did you ever have the opportunity to perform with Frankie Yankovic?
I hired Frank on a few of our polka weekends years later, and in fact, we even did a European tour together. It was Frankie Yankovic, Al Truskowski, I don't know if you know that name.
Yes.
And myself, the three of us did a tour South America, Mexico. It was Mexico. Yeah, we did Mexico. Acapulco, we did stuff like that.
All over the world.
Yeah. No, we did a lot of different places, a lot of different cruises, different ports of call, different islands. Alaska we did.
How about the
Hawaii
members? How about the members of your band? You mentioned your sons either play drums or accordion as well as you. Do you have like long-standing other band members that have been with you throughout the years, or have guys kind of come and go?
That's an interesting question. When I was going to college up in Loudon, past Albany, and playing in Queens, New York, I also had the ability to secure an audition for Arthur Godfrey. Do you remember that name?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. And his TV show, and I auditioned for it, and I played one song, and while I was playing that song, if you recall, Frankie Yankovic, when he was really going strong, he put his right leg up and he twirled it around while he played the accordion. I don't know if you recall that.
Yeah, I do remember that, yes.
When Elvis Presley was on TV, and they only showed him from the waist up.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I did that with the leg, after I did the first song, the people that were listening to me, auditioning me, say, well, wait a minute, it's the second song I did that on.
Mm-hmm.
I did the first song, I didn't do that. I did it on the second song. They said, play me another song. I'm playing another tune. I said, wow, to myself, that's pretty good. They like it. So I did the second song, and that's when I did the leg up. And after I did the leg up, they said, well, thank you very much. Listen, don't call us, we'll call you. And I knew that was it. You know?
Arthur Godfrey didn't like the leg up.
I went to my father had a summer resort up in the Catskills at that time, and then he had a lot of people coming up. And one of the gentlemen that came up had a nightclub in Queens, and he listened to my band. He said, Adam, if you're ever in New York, why don't you come over and we'll talk? Maybe we can do business together. So I said, you know what? I was in New York, so I called the guy up. And I said, Mr. Hogan, I said, I'm here. I said, would you like to listen to my group? I'll come and we'll talk. He said, okay. So now, meanwhile, I didn't have my own band doing for the audition. The only guy that I had was I had a piano player and a bass player, Joe Gessler. And so Joe Gessler, who played bass, came with me to Queens. So that's the only guy that I had besides myself. But I came with the whole band, even though they were not going to be able to play. And he liked it. He says, okay. We came on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, I think it was. And he says, okay. He says, let's do business. You're hired. I said, when do I start? He said, Saturday. I said, Saturday? And I said, I don't even have my own band yet here. So I used to live in Queens, and my dad moved up to the Catskills when I was 12. And I said to a friend of mine, who I was at the time, a friend of mine living in Queens, I said, do you know a young guitar player? He said, yes. I said, why don't you give him a call and let me get together with him. Maybe we can do some business. So I called him up. His name was Richard Ziegler. And he played a real good guitar. He was about 2 years younger than I was. I went over to his house. I played about 16 bars. Terrific rhythm guitarist. And I said, you're hired. So we started as a trio. So he was with me for about until I got sick at that time because I was going back and forth too many times. So I wasn't able to play for about a year and a half. But before I got sick, he came to me and says, Adam, he says, I got to ask you a question. He says, if I really ever go famous, could I use your first name as my last? I said, it'd be my guest. So he became then professionally known as Richie Adams.
Wow.
And he did have a one-hit wonder with a group called the Fireflies. He was the lead singer.
Okay.
And the song was You Are Mine. I don't know if you recall that going back. I don't know your age group, but nevertheless.
Yeah, I have to hear it to see the name doesn't sound familiar, but I have to hear it, yes.
Yeah. And so then he didn't do anything for a while. And then my guitar player got sick and couldn't work. And wife said, why don't you call Rich? I said, are you kidding me? She said, well, give him a call. So I said, okay. And I called him up and I said, play a couple of weekends with me if you can. And as a result of that, Dennis, he was with me almost close to 30 years.
Wow.
Yeah, so he was the longest with me.
Okay.
And he was doing very well. He wrote 7 songs that were recorded by Engelbert. Al Martino recorded some songs. He did movie scores. He did very well. And he was a fantastic rhythm guitarist. And he was responsible a lot for when we did recording. So I depended on him a lot to get things correctly synchronized, you know. Yeah. So it worked out really fine.
Good. So you kind of touched on recordings. How many recordings do you have to date with your band?
12.
12 recordings?
Yeah.
And when was your first one? Like, how old were you, or what year was it when?
1975. In fact, that was when I was asked to promote produce the first Oktoberfest for a summer resort up in the Catskills, up in Furling, New York. And I put together all the bands, the dancers, the horn blowers, the yodelers, and stuff like that. And I said, you know what? I think we should do a recording. So I came out with my first recording, which was called Ein Prosit. A German song, of course, you know.
Yes, yes.
And that was my first one.
Okay. You've played pretty much all over the world. Do you have a favorite, whether it's a place or country or area that you performed, whether it was on the ships or was it in, Europe, or what was one of your favorite places to perform?
Well, I definitely enjoy going to Europe and performing. Austria was one of my favorites. It was really one of my favorites. We went there quite a bit. And then we went to other countries after we left Austria. We went to other countries too. But I think my favorite was always going like on a 1 week or a 2 week cruise on different ships. And we only did, like on a Princess Cruise Line, we did 2 1-hour shows in 2 weeks. So that wasn't hard to take, you know.
No.
The rest
and you're
of
on a cruise ship.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, it's so hard, from all your accomplishments to say this is the best or this is the favorite. It's you've got a series of favorites. You've got a series of achievements, and that's what's awesome. I mean, just an incredible background that you've achieved over the years, and it's wonderful. Are there like favorite tunes that you like to play, or are there like fan favorites that, when your band plays, I want to hear this song, or what are some that you enjoy playing?
Well, yeah, there are some favorites in different categories. I guess you would call this like an Elvis tune, "The Wonder of You." You know that one, right? Mm-hmm. "The Wonder of You."
Yes.
And also "My Little Corner of the World." That's a little rumba style, you know. "Tell Me You're Mine." That's a waltz, a Polish waltz, but I sing it in English.
Okay.
And we played a big band style. I love to do that. And then I have a song which I discovered, I guess many, many years ago. And I used it I was on radio for 25 years too. I had my own radio show for 25 years. I used this song as my outro when the show was over, and also when my performances were over. The song is called "I Don't Want to Go Home."
Okay.
And I got everybody on the dance floor playing like dance tunes. And then I would say, okay, now everybody get together, come on up to the front by the band. We're all going to sing "I Don't Want to Go Home." And they clap along and they go nuts over it, you know. And it worked out really fine. And then I would end with "American Trilogy." And it worked out so well with me. So that was one of my favorites. I also wrote a song which I started to say when I did my first not the first recording, did the recording when I was celebrating my 50th anniversary. I wrote a lot of songs. And one of the songs that I wrote was a song called "My Friend, My Lover, My Wife." And that came out pretty popular, so I was doing that quite a bit. And as a little side a jar here, the engineer that was doing our technician stuff at the recording. At the end of 5-6 hours, you get sort of giddy, and we were listening to the finalization of it. And the technician said, "Adam, I got to ask you a question." I said, "Yeah, what is it?" He says, "You know this song you wrote? My friend, my lover, my wife." I said, "Yeah." He says, "That's 3 different people, right?" I said, "No." So it was that was on that. My fan clubs did that for me. They put a lot of things together. So they ran a big celebration for my 50th anniversary as a musician. So that was neat for them.
Is there anything unique to the way you perform or the style of music or anything that sets you apart from other bands?
Well, I think that we were very, and I don't want to sound funny in that respect, but my band was sort of proficient, which I'm very, very happy about, in all different types of music, and not just because of me. I knew my shortcomings, so therefore, as I said to you before, when I put this band together, I wanted to be able to play different types of music well and legit, like if we played whatever, soul music, or we played big band, or we played country, then it sounded legit, like a Kenny Rogers tune. The guy sounded like a Kenny Rogers almost, or the Godfather of Soul, James Brown. I don't feel good, stuff like that,
Well, that's an excellent answer, because it's, where you took such pride in what you played and how you played it, and that's, I'm sure your fan base and all that appreciate that, because no matter what you do it well, and then that's something to be very proud of, and that's a good answer to that question. What's your primary style? Do you consider it Bavarian, Slovenian? It sounds like you're just a variety. And you kind of play to the room, right?
You're right.
Yeah.
Dennis, my variety is there. I love all kinds of music, but I have that preference. I have that preference for that Cleveland, Slovenian style music.
Yep.
Like the Frankie Avalon stuff. He got me on that style, and it never disappeared. And of course, he played the accordion, which I play. So
yes,
the love was just there naturally. I was 12 years old, and it just stayed with me. And I had the good privilege when I was 16. I went to the Lost Battalion Hall. He was playing there, and I was able to join the band and play a couple of numbers with them. So that was my highlight at that time.
Sure.
Yeah.
So you've been just about everywhere, done everything. Do you have any advice to the young musician who's just starting out? Anything that you can say, these are the things you want to do, maybe this is something you shouldn't do? What would you tell a high school or college age person now that wants to say, I want to play Cleveland style or Slovenian music, or what would you tell them?
Well, that's fine, but also delve into the other types. Okay. Because you're going to need, in order to be really successful, and also in the art of pleasing yourself with the fact that you're able to do it, that if you get somebody comes up and says, "Oh, you guys play a little rock or play a little country," that you're able to do it, My main concern was always to please the public. If I got more people I got on a dance floor, the better I know I was doing my job, And there was a place called the Bavarian Lake Ronkonkoma. It's no longer there, but I was one of the bands. I had 4 catering houses at one time that I hired all the bands for the weddings. And they asked me first, but if I couldn't do it, I hired a band for one of my guys in charge. And after he sold it, I met him, and he said, "I got to tell you, Adam," he says, "of all the bands that I've had playing, and I've had a lot of bands playing here, and when you or your band played there," he says, "I sold more alcohol." And why was that, Dennis? Because we got more people dancing.
Yeah, that's right. There you go.
Got more people dancing.
Yep.
It always amazed me when I played in a big catering hall where they might have 6, 7 different weddings going on. When I had an intermission, I would go out in the hall and just open one of the doors of the other weddings, and there was a band playing, and there was 3 couples on the floor.
Mm.
And I said, they play their repertoire, I guess. No matter who they play for, they play the same repertoire. If I got 3 couples, 4 couples on the dance floor, I'm doing something wrong, man.
Mm-hmm.
I stop and as soon as I can, I go into something else.
Yeah. That's good to know. So you always want, to, like you said, you're there to please the fans. You're there to please, and there are other interviews that I've done with other musicians, and it's amazing how many of them said exactly what you're saying. If they look up from the stage and they see that the dance floor is full, they know that they're being successful and they're entertaining the crowd. So it's amazing how many people answer like that. Yes. Yep.
Exactly right. Our main concern should be pleasing the public, because if we please the public, we're going to be very well pleased too.
That's right.
Our reputation is going to grow, and we'll get more jobs out of it, and we'll get more satisfaction out of it, and who knows where it would lead to.
Yep.
As my wife said, I'm retired now, and I look back at all the things that we did, and she says, just be happy. Mm-hmm. We did so much stuff. God was good to us.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So I totally agree.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
So
that
the one last thing.
Love of my life. Love of my life, besides, of course, my family.
Yeah. Well, that's always first and foremost, and it sounds like you've been blessed in many, many ways. So.
Yeah, I would. Sure.
One of the last things that we always like to ask people is, like a crazy, wacky story that you can tell, that you encountered throughout the years. I'm sure you've got hundreds of them, but something that's kind of fun way to end our interview is, with a fun story or a wacky, crazy, something that happened to you along the way.
Yeah, there've been a few, but one that sticks in my mind all the time is, there's going to be a photo that you might be able to use in what I'm telling you right now. Mm-hmm. On one of my poker weekends, I said to the people that came, and we had sometimes 600 people on my weekend that we produced, and I think I told you I had 75 of those poker weekends. But anyway, I said, let's do a weekend where you get dressed up in different costumes, whatever you want to do. And we'll have a contest, and whoever has the best costume, we'll arrange a weekend free, And so a lot of people got dressed up. So the president of my fan club came to me and said, Adam, would you dress up? So now I'm not going to say no. I said, yeah, of course. I said, whatever you want to do. She said, okay, but don't tell your wife what I'm going to ask you to dress up as. I said, okay. And my wife is a very caring person, and she's always concerned that everything goes well and all that stuff. So we started the weekend on the Friday and on the Saturday. Saturday, I had 2 bands working on a Friday night, 1 band Friday afternoon, a band playing the wedding on a Saturday, then a band playing for the cocktail hour, then 2 bands at night. I had a band starting, and then I would come at the second half an hour, and then I would come half an hour. And while the first band was playing, I dressed in the bathroom. She gave me the costume and dress up. Mm-hmm. And I came dressed up as Elvis with the wigs, the hairpiece, and the whole costume like he had. And my wife was concerned, like, where's Adam? Where's Adam? Why isn't he here? So she was concerned health-wise. And so I started to come out just as they were, my band was going to play without me. And as I came, there were 2 young guys walking towards the entrance to the nightclub. And I said, hey, guys, do me a favor. Walk in front of me like you're my entrance group that is supporting Elvis. And they said, yeah, sure, no problem. So they came in, and all of a sudden, there was a spotlight, and they turned it on me. And they walked up, and Richie Adams, who was doing the intro, I said, "Now, ladies and gentlemen, we have Elvis here today." And I came in, and meanwhile, my wife was sitting on a table, with the fan club officers and a couple other people. And she said, "Oh, there's always got to be some smart rear-end guy who does an Elvis impression, and he's going to get up there." And she wasn't looking at me. She was looking for me as me coming in the door, And all of a sudden I got up there and I said, "You ain't nothing but a hound." And she said, "Oh my God, it's terrible, And so the people were laughing like crazy. And they said, "Why don't you turn around and look, see who's playing and singing?" So she looks around and she said, "Oh my God, it's Adam." And so then we have a picture of that. So that stays in my mind.
Yeah.
Somebody took a picture of my wife when she turned around.
Priceless, right?
Yeah, very good. So we've had a couple of fantastic memories. Yeah. Fantastic memories. Yeah.
Well, that's pretty much all I have. Is there anything you'd like to add or say to the polka community?
No, I thank them for their loyalty when I was performing and the good times that we all were able to have together. And just keep on going as long as you possibly can. And I thank you for the interview.
Yeah,
it was enjoyable.
Yeah, it was absolutely a privilege.
Too,
Yeah, I've learned a lot about you. I admittedly didn't know that much of your background. I knew some of your bio. I knew that you performed with Frankie Yankovic and all that. But to listen to your stories and to all the adventures and all the things that you've accomplished throughout your career, I learned a lot as well, and I admire and everything that you've done, and you're a very positive attribute to the polka community. So I congratulate you on a fantastic career. So
thank you so much.
Yeah. So once again,
I appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I do. I thank you very much for your time and your insight, and I truly hope you enjoyed. I truly did enjoy spending this time with you. So take care, God bless, and I wish you nothing but health and future success in all that you do.
Right, and give my regards to all, okay? Thank you so much.
I will. Thank you very much, Adam.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.